episode of Chatty Broads with Bekah and Jess.
Well, it's kind of sad because you're not hearing the which is like, you know, the signature move. But we pull up here, we get all in here, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Empty.
Beerless.
We're out of beer. We had a lot of beer for a long time.
We had like a million beers in the fridge, and we didn't even realize last time was the final beer, was the BL Smoothie finale.
For real.
Should we transition it to something different? Like a different beer or a different drink, mixed drinks?
I was going to say, I do away with beer. I was about to be like, we have it. Well, normally we just have a can of something. There was a while when we were drinking
seltzers, maybe
beer,
a little
we
bit.
were drinking seltzers.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we apologize for dropping the ball.
Is that going to be something we can continue?
Because of my medication?
Yes, we have news.
That's true. Yeah. Okay.
News for the bros.
This just in, I snapped my patellar tendon in half.
That's your knee.
That is the tendon connecting your kneecap to your, I guess, shin and your quad. I snapped it in half, and now my kneecap is basically like up and to the left. It's not connected anymore, and it's swimming.
Yeah, so it's like when like if your knee was a puzzle,
if your knee was
a toddler found it, and they just did what they do to puzzles. That's what happened inside Evan's knee.
I was stupidly playing basketball. Very mellow too, by the way. I wasn't playing like heavy, crazy basketball. It was just mellow. I was kind of backing up, hit a weird little divot, and my knee snapped. And it was so loud that people were like, they heard it. Later on, they were telling me like they heard it. Yeah. And I thought,
I can't imagine.
Oh, when it happened to me, I thought that the person coming at me with the ball ran into my knee with his knee really, really hard. You know that because of how hard it hit.
That happened to me in college, and my patella broke in half.
So you snapped it.
Someone ran into my knee with their knee.
So you've got knee surgery.
And no, we won't talk about I didn't end up having knee surgery. It was a whole.
So it didn't snap.
The patella itself broke in two.
But it didn't sever, which is nice.
No, as the doctor said, the muscles of my leg kept my knee in place.
Wow.
And by the time I didn't think that I had broken it, so I didn't go in for a long time. And by the time I went in, he's like, no, like we'd have to have like crazy invasive surgery to go in. But for me with knees, it's all about the tendons and all. None of my tendons were fucked up.
Amazing.
That was all he cared about.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
And for people who don't know the construction of the knee's not even connected to anything. It's free floating.
Yeah. It's
tethered together by tissue. It's not connected to your bones, even though it doesn't feel like there's a gap. It's literally floating.
The whole thing is just like.
So if you shred your fucking tendons like Evan did,
it's gone.
It's not, it'll just float around your body.
And I knew it was bad too, because when I hit the ground, first of all, the pain was out of this world. That was like cross-eyed pain. But then when I touched my knee and my knee didn't feel like a knee anymore, it was literally coming out two different ways. I was like, okay. And everyone's like, are you all good? I'm like, nope, I got to go to the hospital right now.
Looking at a knee injury too is like the fucking worst.
It was brutal.
Anytime someone breaks a bone, you're like, and you see it visibly where like someone's body is just like, that doesn't go like that.
I went to lift my leg.
It's wrong.
And I went to lift my leg. And because the patellar tendon is the one that connects to your shin, basically, that's the one that allows you to pull your leg up. So when that's severed, it's literally like, there is no control anymore. So I couldn't even, right as it stands right now, I have this huge brace. Let's see if I have this huge brace that basically takes up my whole leg, and I can't lift my leg. It's completely dead. I can stand on it a little bit, but there is no movement ability at all. It's dead, and it looks like a water tower, how swollen it is. It's black and blue and swollen. It is gross.
It's humongous.
It's insane looking. So next week, I'm going to get surgery, I think. I got my MRI today, and
then he's going to be on a whole bunch of painkillers. And so that's why I don't know if we're going to be drinking.
I'm already on the hydros right now.
See, this is what we don't, he would be slurring.
I'm already on the hydros. And I'll be interesting. They don't do much.
Hydro, this is Tylenol with codeine.
It's not that great, but anyway, so next week I'm planning on getting surgery either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. So luckily we'll just get this over with. The most annoying thing to me is not the pain. It's not anything. It's just like the fact that I know for the next 5 months I'm gonna have to be like dealing with this, and it's gonna be like a long road back.
I'll give you some advice.
That's pissing me off.
I'll give you some advice, and bros, just so you know, when we talk about there will be times like later. So in a little bit, we're going to have my ex-girlfriend from college on.
Yes.
And there'll be talks about drug use in college, but I want to make it clear I was never into pills of any kind, but I'm going to give Evan some advice right now because he's saying the painkillers aren't doing anything. I went through a year where I had multiple face and like oral surgeries.
Yeah.
It was very bad. I couldn't eat solid foods for like 8 months that year. All you need to do if your painkillers aren't doing enough is just literally tell the doctors, be like, I'm in fucking pain right now.
Right.
And they'll just up it.
Well, it's interesting. So,
but you don't want to up it too high.
Right.
Because then you'll actually be getting shit that's like frighteningly.
Well, what's interesting about it is that I've noticed that so Jess had some ibuprofens left over from like an oral thing. Mm-hmm. I took one of those. It worked way better than hydrocodone. So I think it's just like that one works for me.
Well, this is an anti-inflammatory.
Right.
Hydrocodone, like Tylenol, is like fine for like fever and like pain, but it's not going to like decrease your inflammation in the same way.
Ibuprofen worked way better for me.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
But I would say if you do it, don't take anything higher than a Percocet.
Right. No, I'm good. I'm just going to
let them give
I'm just going to do the ibuprofen.
Yeah.
It seems to be working great.
Do you say that now? Wait till your fucking surgery, dude.
I know. I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And I've never had this big a surgery. I've had I had a pin put in my wrist when I was like 20, but I haven't had like full blown knee surgery.
I might just be a baby, but like when I'm coming out of surgery, it's like those movies where the celebrity gets like a coffee and they're like, get that shit out of my face. Like someone tries. If someone cut me open.
Right.
Messed around.
Have you ever had any surgery before?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if someone cuts me open and messes around on some things and then stitches me back up, leaving stuff in my body to just take out later, and then is like, here's a couple Tylenol. I'm like, here's a fucking lawsuit. Give me a real fucking painkiller. I'm gonna sue you for malpractice for not taking my fucking pain into proper consideration.
So
that's my attitude. I'm like, I don't want to feel anything. I want to be in total la la land through this hell of recovery. Especially face recovery.
Yeah.
Fuck that, dude.
Dude, did Jess tell you about what happened at the hospital?
No.
So
this sounds good though.
I don't like hospitals. I don't like appointments. I don't like painkillers. I don't like anything. Mm-hmm. So like, I'll just do anything I can to not go to a hospital and not take pain meds. I don't know what it is. I just don't like it. I snapped my knee in half. I knew immediately too. Like I was touching it and I go, it's patellar tendon. It's gone. I literally I'm in the car.
It's a patellar tendon.
No, I literally, I'm like, I held it and I go, it's patellar. It's
someone's
absolutely
like,
gone.
is it radial? No, it's not. It's patellar. I can sense it.
No, but I just knew what the patellar tendon was because I had like problems with it in the past. Never like anything this severe, but like I had issues. So I kind of known what that was. And when I saw my kneecap on the side of my leg, I was like, okay, it's the patellar tendon. And then I walked in and I was like talking to the lady. I'm like, it's not my patellar tendon for sure. And she's like, okay, let's do x-rays. And she came in and she's like, that's correct. You have absolutely severed it's gone.
You 100% severed
She's like, yes, it's ruptured, maximum rupture. So I'm sitting there and dude, Jess was so pissed. So Jess was out of town.
She pissed at you for fucking your leg up?
No. Well, okay. Yeah, sure. But no. Well, first of all, she was like, what were you doing? You know, classic, like, you idiot kind of thing. But not that.
The concern is there for like all of 1 second. And then it's like, you moron.
Yeah, no. She was super concerned. Here's where she got mad at me. And this is where I can understand. I didn't want to stress her out. So I didn't call her. I didn't call her until I was checking out.
Oh my God.
I was in the ER for 6 hours. And I didn't call her. And then so I text my stepmother-in-law because she has had a lot of experience in the medical field with like surgeries and her son and all this stuff. So like, if you ever need anything, I can just text her and be like, do you know any good person for this? So I text her on the way to the hospital and I said, do you know any good knee surgeons? Because I'm like, it's going to be surgery, no questions asked. And she starts texting me stuff and I was like, cool, thanks. I'm going to the hospital right now, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I didn't think about the fact that she might text Jess.
Ugh.
So she texts Jess 2 hours later and goes, I'm so sorry to hear about Evan. I hope he's doing better. And Jess goes, what are you talking about? And she goes, Evan, like, you know, he's at the hospital right now. And she goes, what are you talking about? And I've been at the hospital for 5 hours at this point. And she calls me and she goes, are you at the hospital? And I'm just like, maybe. She's like, what's going on? And I'm like,
it was the tone where you're like, shit.
I was just like, I call her, I go, hey, babe. Because in the hospital,
Hey, what's up?
in the hospital, I was texting her like, "How's your day?" Because I just was like, I don't want to stress her out. I don't want. If she's having a good day with Ember, I'm like, I'm just in this place where it's aisle. So what is she? She can't do anything.
Babe, I'm gonna need you to take care of Ember tonight. I'm gonna be a little late, all right?
It was literally just like, yeah, I hope you're. What's up? What are you guys up to?
I'll be home in a little bit.
It was also this like I was also a little bit in shock, like you know what I mean. I was just kind of like in the zone of like, well, fuck, you know. So anyway, she calls me.
State when you're like heavily injured.
Yeah, so it was like she called me and she goes, "Are you in the hospital right now?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm in the hospital." She goes, "What happened?" I snapped my leg in half basically, and she was just like, "What the fuck?" She's just like, "Are you serious? Like you didn't call me? How long have you been there?" I'm like 5 hours. She was just like, "I love you. I will be mad at you for 10 years for this." Like how could you just be suffering by it was like a sympathy thing. It was like how could you be suffering by yourself? But it was just so she's like, that's the most you thing I've ever heard in my life. Just to be like, well, this is the difference.
I'd say this is like a this is the male brain. Right. And there just be like, oh.
I'm just like, well, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna like do the surgery or I'm like, you're with Ember. You're already doing everything you can. Like, I'll just now you'll be stressed out of your mind.
What were you going to do? Like, you would have had to rush to find a babysitter, like bring Ember to the hospital for like 6 hours. It's a
nightmare. Yeah.
What are you going to do in here? It's not like you're going to make the doctor come any sooner.
Exactly.
It's just like, just stay at home, chill. It's better. You don't know. You'll find out when you find out about it. It's not.
And I was just trying to get out of there too. So I was just at any moment, I was like, can I leave? Can I leave? Can I leave? Like,
and you're also probably aware that you're like, I don't want to be around anybody right now.
I was like, a little bit like that.
But you're just like, what the fuck are you like?
I was a little bit like, dude, I just need to like put my head around the fact that like that my next 6 months are gonna suck, you know. So yeah. It's like, but anyway, so luckily my job is kind of a desk job anyway. So like whenever I go to rehearsals and all that stuff, I had to work the next day after I did it.
I just curious set my about
leg.
That.
Yeah, so I set my leg up on a case, and I just worked.
Well, so it was a rehearsal break.
Yes.
What happened at rehearsal folling? Was it like a...
No. So luckily I had my like kind of
a real rehearsal
guy. Yeah. Okay. Oh my God. I had like my secondhand guy with me for like that day where he can kind of run stuff while I'm gone and he kind of runs it when I'm not there. So it worked out perfectly. Like I will say, if there ever was a perfect day to snap my knee into an oblivion, that was the day. So like we're taking a little break. I snap my knee into an oblivion. I get taken to the hospital, get dropped off. And I'm like, go back, do your thing. So I'm still in the hospital. They just kind of keep running. I have a different rehearsal with a different artist the next day that I can't really cancel. So I just come up, I set my leg up on the thing and I just work and, you know, that's how it's going to be. So it's just going to be that. But I don't know, man. It's like, it sucks. But at the same time, like I am one of those people too that like hates sitting around. And so the idea of like being stuck at home is going to make me lose my mind. So I'd much rather be like, even slightly uncomfortable at like a rehearsal or like going somewhere and doing something than like sitting at home for like, if I sit at home for like more than 2 days, I start to go nuts. So I just know myself and it's like, I'm already just going crazy. You know what I mean? I'm already walking around all the time, like hobbling around on crutches, just like get me out of here. So that's going to be my biggest struggle is like the anxiety of being stuck. Gonna make me go crazy. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, well, I have the video.
Oh yeah, let's see the video.
We'll put the video up for you guys. It's not like that eventful because it literally just looks like I tripped. You're just kind of like, what's the issue? Like I don't really see.
Let's see it. So you're faking it?
It kind of just looks like I tripped. That's why most like in the video you hear my buddy laugh.
It's not like the fighting video where the guy kicks the other guy's chin and then his leg goes all rubber gum when he tries to stand on it.
So we'll put this up. You can hear me say it's broken.
Yeah. And they're laughing.
Yeah, because they just think I tripped.
That's the worst.
So I think you can... You hear it?
I know the tendency.
Right, hold on, listen. That God. Yeah, it just goes.
When I pop my finger, so you guys like that noise, if you think about the size, when I popped one of the tendons in my ring finger, my friends who were like 10 feet away from me heard it.
Right.
So you imagine a tendon in your leg.
It's like this.
It's like a
It's like what? It's like
really
taking
loud,
one of those weightlifting like bands and just snapping it, you know?
Yeah, it's incredibly loud. It's a very strange feeling in your body. I don't know what your leg felt like, but that it's a weird pop. Like
For me, the best thing I could describe it as is that someone hit me with a bat.
Yeah, and
it was just out of nowhere. I thought someone hit me. I was like, whoa, what is that? Because it was so powerful. Like, I feel like I got hit by a car. It was just like if someone swung as hard as they could and punched you in the leg. That's what
I wonder what they're going to do. Did they tell you what they're going to do? They're going to take like a tendon from your butt and put it on there?
No. So the tendon is hanging off of it.
Okay.
You know? So actually it's down here. It's off of here. So what they do is they take the tendon. That's why you have to get the surgery done really quick before the tendons start to grow apart. So they take the tendon, they attach a bunch of anchors to it, and then they put it into the kneecap and anchor it, and then like align it and pull it. So it's basically like, you know, taking like binds, and they take a bunch of stitches and they put these anchors into it, and they sink the anchors into the kneecap, and then the anchors pull, and then it finds that balance again.
Isn't it weird how like mechanical we are?
We're just straight up, we're like an auto body. My
friend works with like surgical robots, and he's like, dude, it's like honestly like odd sometimes seeing like he does a lot of orthopedic surgery stuff, and he's like, they'll just take like car, like what looks like a car tool,
right,
to your foot.
Yeah, just crank it.
Oh, we're just grinding this down. We just got to polish this down a little bit. You got a lot of gunk buildup over the years. We're just gonna take this out and polish. Look how nice that looks.
Right.
Just slip it right back in.
Anyway,
just bolt in a few things.
That's
here.
where we're at, baby. And yeah, so it's gonna be a long road back, but
is it gonna be better?
I don't know.
Because sometimes I remember like when I'd break an arm, the doctor would be like, well, your arm's gonna be stronger now.
So that's only, I think, the case. That's not the case for me. That's only the case when you have a break, because breaks are better than tendon breakages.
Yeah.
So like it's better to have your legs. It would be much better if my legs snapped in half.
And they don't have a Tommy John for this, where it's like they do it, but they just upgrade you.
Yeah, can they put like a rotator belt in there?
So you can like slingshot kick. You have a new career. It's like a field goal kicker.
Right. No, I think it's like you got one tendon, you got to figure it out.
Fuck.
So anyway,
luckily your hockey days are.
Luckily my days, but I'm gonna start working out these legs again and getting them strong, so we don't have this problem.
Never miss leg day.
Never miss leg day. But the opposite is happening, which is we're gonna talk to your ex.
Yeah, I don't know how that's quite the opposite.
I guess the opposite of catastrophic. It might be catastrophic, but we'll see how this goes.
No, it won't be catastrophic. I have a feeling.
Yeah.
We'll have her on. She's waiting right now. So ladies and gentlemen,
ex-girlfriend Liv.
Here she is.
Okay, broads, interrupting the bros quickly. Do anyone else's eyes glaze over and minds start to wander about what's for dinner or where they should go on their next vacation as soon as someone starts talking about their stock portfolio or what new investments they're making?
Gosh, yeah.
Because mine definitely do, okay? It's not that I'm not interested. It's more that I just don't have a good understanding because, come on, it's more than just a little bit confusing. But I recently started using SoFi, and each day it all makes a little more sense.
Yeah, if you don't know anything about like stocks, crypto, anything like that, using SoFi is like having a friend on the inside who can actually help you understand and make good decisions. You can buy stocks, EFTs, you can automate your investing, you can even dive into cryptocurrency all in one app. There's no hidden commissions or account fees. It's literally just a platform to help you make sense of your own money and how to grow it. And you can even use one of SoFi's complimentary financial planners to help answer questions or get you started.
One of the biggest negatives to getting into the stock market from my perspective is that you need to have a good amount of money or risk a good amount of money to potentially come out on top. But SoFi has introduced fractional shares that start as low as just $5 on brand name stocks, like not bottom of the barrel unknown companies. We're talking big household names that you can buy shares in with the money you would spend on a morning coffee. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. Cut through the jargon and make investing easier with SoFi. Visit SoFi.com/chatty to learn how you can win up to $1,000 in stock when you open an account. That's SoFi.com/chatty. Brokerage and active investing programs offered through SoFi Securities LLC, member FINRA/SPIC.
So do you all remember when there was like a war on bread? Okay, it wasn't actually a war on bread, but I swear from the late 90s to the late 2010s, bread and carbs were like public enemy number one, which is not only bad science, but also sad because freshly baked bread is the closest feeling to heaven on earth that I know, okay? okay. But anyway, good news for all, because we now know that there are those good carbs, and those good carbs taste delicious. You have to try wild grain.
So wild grain's the first bake from frozen box, from artisan breads, rolls, pastries, and handmade pastas. I just made the croissants for the kids the other day. Popped them in the oven. My mouth is watering just talking about it. Wild grain only uses clean ingredients like unbleached and non-GMO flour, and utilizes a slow sourdough fermentation process, so it's better for you and it tastes better.
All you need to do is sign up and pick the type of box you want to receive and how often, and then when your box arrives, everything can be stored in your freezer and be baked and ready to eat in just 25 minutes or less. I feel like the only way to really do any justice to the bakery box from Wild Grain is tell you what's in it, because oh wow, it is so good. An example of what could come in your delivery: 1 sourdough country loaf, 1 sourdough wheat loaf, 1 sourdough harvest loaf, a package of linguine, 1 pack of pappardelle, and 4 sourdough croissants. I mean, that is basically my dream delivery. Are you kidding me?
We've already, I think we got this like last week, and we've already eaten almost everything from it. That same day that I got it, we cooked the croissants, we cooked the pappardelle. I think we cooked the linguine too. It was amazing.
I bathed in wild grain practically that night.
Hungry already? For a limited time, you can get $30 off the first box and free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/chatty to start your subscription. You heard that right. You get free croissants in every box, and they're like not baked yet. So you bake them in your oven. They are all fresh and delicious. So anyway, you get $30 off your first box when you go to wildgrain.com/chatty. That's wildgrain.com/chatty. Or you can use promo code chatty at checkout.
And here she is.
Hello.
Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, Liv
Wow. In the flesh.
is gracing us with her presence so we can clap back at Bekah and Chris's episode.
Yeah, was this just a revenge episode? Is that what this is?
I don't know if it's a revenge episode, but it's just a chance to have my ex-girlfriend
All I
on.
have to say is I'm Team Bekah for the rest of my life.
This is not going good already for
They
you.
have a work relationship, dude. She's just covering her investments.
I get it. You have to save face.
Yeah. They work together.
She's dealing with it's like, you know, your allies and your enemies. You have to kind of keep everyone close.
They're like constantly like zooming on like Zoom meetings.
I
together.
literally talk to Bekah every day. We
And then
spoke earlier.
I'm
She's
not allowed
great.
to be in the meetings, so I'm just like over in the other room with the kids.
So how did this work?
They have business meetings.
So you guys were in a relationship, and did you recommend her for something, or they know each other back in the day, or?
Yeah, well, it was Liv and I have stayed friends since our relationship, and Bekah was having issues with the like her clothing manufacturing and production and stuff, and I asked a mutual friend of ours if they had suggestions, because he owns his own like fashion thing called Mr. Green. And then he was like, well, do you know that, like, have you talked to Liv? Liv is working in that world. Like she's working for the perfect company. Got it. And then I just reached out to Liv. They had a meeting.
So it's relatively new though.
Yeah. In the last year, we started working together. I mean, it's definitely at Grayston's introduction. Right. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's so nice to know her in this different capacity. I mean, but great. I also just like call you family, and like your parents are family to me. Like, I feel like we keep it all in the family, like with our friend group as well. So it's kind of natural, you know?
Got it. Mm-hmm. How long ago did you guys, when did the relationship end? How many years ago?
Debatable.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's say, when did it romantically stop? Let's not even say when the relationship ended. When was the last romantic, like, encounter?
A long time ago.
Yeah.
A decade? I mean, how old are we now?
32.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So this is a younger love.
So it's, college, and then like...
But the love continued. I think
continued.
I think our conversation
kind of dragged on.
I think, I mean, for me, it was big love. And I just, it was like, we spent our early 20s being like, after college, being like, maybe someday, even though we were in different cities and like dating other people, and
opposite
would kind of
ends
always
of the coast.
Yeah. And like, I mean, I was in Europe a lot. Like, it was just one of those things where you're like, well, maybe it's you.
It was like, we were too young.
Yeah.
Like, we were too young, but what we had was like
powerful,
very real. And then we'd always
real.
Always be checking in with, like, we talk a lot, but we'd always be checking in with each other for a long time on like, oh, maybe if like things work out, maybe if like this and this and this fall into place when we're older or something like that.
Oh, wow. That's actually pretty like,
it's very real.
That's very real because like,
it was true love.
Yeah, seriously. When you're like dating other people,
we were just kids.
And then like in between dating other people, you guys are talking the whole time and then mention to each other, like maybe one day. That is very powerful that you're not even, you know what I mean? Like, that's pretty powerful stuff.
It was also just like realizing like people we were with were also like not long. It was like
not measuring
to
up
be fun
to that level. Yeah.
In some way and be like, yeah, like it's not long term. It's like, I don't know. Or like take consolation in the fact that like what we had was very real. Because there were a lot of times where it's like, bro, like I'm dating all these people. I'm dating like what I know to be like very cool, amazing people.
Hangs though.
But I'm just like, the fuck? Like, am I like a sociopath? Am I like, do I not have these things? And it would be like checking with each other and be like, no, you don't. Because like what we had is what we measure everything else up against.
Right.
And then we'd be like, damn.
You set the bar.
And and then we'd be like,
set the bar for one another.
Oh,
you know?
that's some real love there.
And so then we'd always check in and be like, yeah, we were amazing. It was amazing.
So then, if you don't mind me asking, it was the only reason why you broke up was because you guys moved to different states?
No.
Can we get into this?
Because we also, I mean,
because I'm like, what the hell? Like, who talks this romantically about your life and then just like doesn't?
Because we didn't actually function as
because we were kids, dude. We were just like we didn't know what we wanted. We both wanted everything and nothing all at the same time.
And like, I don't think either of us at a certain point, it became so clear that we had so much like to work out and to grow through. That it was like, but I'm not going to do that with you. You know what I'm saying?
No,
like,
it would have been very dysfunctional.
It was because it was even dysfunctional when we were in college and we were like dating and there were moments of being like exclusive and non-exclusive. And it was just like, when you don't have like the emotional maturity to show up for the other person, despite having like again, like very mature emotions. Yeah. It just like, I don't think we're both too romantic and love one another too much to like do that to the other person, you know, though I don't think it was even as cognizant as like a real decision. It was just like when push came to shove, because I moved to LA. And it was like, I'm here now, you know, we're in the same city. And it was like, we both were kind of like,
we're like, holy shit, it's actually happening.
Was it messy?
Yeah.
The breakup?
It wasn't messy at all. It was like, we met up and we were like, dude, like, this is real. Like everything like we'd been saying was like, now you're like here for your career.
No, I mean the breakup.
No, there was no mess. It was just like we're like
there were messy breakups when we were in college.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so you guys were doing a lot of breaking up and getting back together.
I thought it was just like when we realized like the final was
when we realized it was just like sad and also kind of like easy transition because we've stayed friends for so long. It was like almost like you and your like how I imagine it is with people who are just best friends and you're like, are we going to shift this thing into this other gear? Well, and we both were like,
we also it never was like a lingering question. We were like, like this fantasy is actually here. Like, let's explore that. And then it was like, oh, actually that was all that was just like a fun daydream.
Got it.
It's not actually like
that lasted like most of our 20s. Like it was like I moved to LA at 27 and it was like, we had like kept up from college this whole like, is it you? It's always going to be you. And then we both were like, okay.
Yeah. How long? Okay. So then you did move to LA. You guys had been in like, there definitely is that whole thing too of like distance can create a overly romantic view of things too, right? Like you forget all the bad shit. You mourn over the good shit, right? Like it's like even when I think about like things in my past, it's like, oh man, remember how amazing that was? But in reality, it's like you do sit there and you go, but there was a lot of hard, shitty times. But when you're away from it, you can kind of over romanticize. So when you guys kind of have been talking, not living together, right? And you're only getting the good shit, which is just like late night conversations and fun whatevers. And then you kind of get back to see each other again. Was it like everything's back to the way it was? Or was it like, no, maybe this isn't quite what we thought it was?
Well, that's what kind of happened in college. She, after freshman year, she disenrolled from our school and went to Parsons in New York for art. And then she did a year over there, and we were on the phone the entire time.
Right.
And it was like, that's where we were like, hey, like, you're going to New York. I'm staying here. We're both in college. We both want to be, you know, available and have fun. But like, I also don't want to lose you. Mm-hmm. And so that was like always how our shit was, where it was
very
like, we
want
everything. We want everything. It's like, I want to see other people, but I don't want to let you go. Up. And then we set really weird things for each other, where it was like, you can sleep with other people, but you can't actually like do anything like relationship.
Like you can't go to dinner with them.
No. And then it was like, if you are doing that, you need to talk to the other person, because that's like, you don't want to be on both. Anyway, it made no sense.
Crazy. It made no sense, but it was very age appropriate.
And we would talk to each other like every night.
And this was at 21 or 19 or whatever?
This is even, sophomore, like 18, 19. And then I feel like once I moved back to Portland, because we were in person together again. And we were in person together after this like crazy year of like pseudo long distance that had kind of like fucked everything up in a weird way. Mm-hmm. It was like, okay, like let's like try to be functional again in a way where like normal people would just like date and be exclusive, but we still weren't really ready for that. So like,
no, and there was so much other weird stuff too, because all her girlfriends stayed at college with me and were there witnessing everything I was doing.
So not a lot of great reports getting back.
No.
Well, I'm just like, it's so funny. I'm like, you were up to no good. You had the best time. I mean, no, everyone, our school was crazy.
So she wound up, what was hilarious about the situation was when she moved,
was it hilarious?
My best friends, like my high school best friends, were living in the same apartment as her. Okay. Like 2 or 3 floors above her or below her.
Yeah, and they patrolled me.
So it was both sides were going.
No, they were like,
it was like they were like eyes on me, like little sister, like
they're
what
like
are
my
you doing
best
later tonight?
Friends, like knowing that my college girlfriend's like living in the apartment with them and being like, who are you going out with?
And then she had the report on you.
They'd go to the bar with her, and guys would try to talk to her, and they'd be like, get the fuck out of here. And then I was in college doing whatever I wanted.
Whatever he wanted. It was like he got to eat the dessert, like a cake, whatever. He got everything. And I'm over here in New York City.
Well, please, you stopped hanging out. You stopped hanging out with them very quickly because of that. This lasted like, this whole situation's like a month long. Like, let's not pretend like it was the whole
Tragically.
year.
Basically, I moved back to Portland though, and it was like I had too much info on what Grayston had been up to. And there was like a lot of energy, I would say, that like we both had, that like we didn't know again how to like just be in relationship in a normal, in no relationships like normal, but I just mean like in like a more like thoughtful, monogamous, like let's process feelings together. Like we were not responsible.
No,
in
and
that
there was
way.
Also just so much social stuff. Like there was never, in like at our school, there was no real like private moments. You were always like with people.
Fishbowl.
Yeah. And so like you'd be in a living room and it'd be like
always people.
There's always people because we're all in college. So the only way you afford it is to live with 5 other people or whatever. So, you know, so it's like, you're never really alone.
Kind of like being in a reality TV show.
And so then there's always like, there are people you're having conversations with about your feelings for this person. And then they come over and they're like witnessing you, like, you know, follow up on what you say, or like, it was just like a lot of pressure from a lot of things of like, there were times where it felt like I wasn't allowed to like have, like, we weren't allowed to have like a relationship in a way. 'Cause it was like,
or even to like not be aware, like, of what the other person was up to. Like, honestly, if there weren't like 30 other people who had been invested one way or the other, betting on if it would like work or not, like maybe it would have gone differently, but there was just so many other people involved at a certain point. because our friend group is tight knit. It's like,
and we were at a small school also, like 2,000 kids.
Yeah, so it felt more like a small high school kind of vibe where you're just actually so but it sounds like you guys are both similar in that, like, at 19 to be able to look at your other partner and be like, yeah, are we gonna hook up with other people? Yeah, okay, cool, but then I don't want to lose. Like, that is pretty, like, that's a personality, I feel like. You know what I mean? Like, most 19-year-olds are either like cheating or they're with someone. But to have an open, almost relationship at 19, that means you guys must have been kind of very similar in your, like, world
one
views.
thing we can do is we can talk. Like,
her and I can talk.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk, like, we can talk through kind of like for hours. Like, that's always been the strength, I think, of our connection.
But even to handle the jealousy of that, like, I'll be honest with you, if I'm 19 years old and I really liked someone, and I was like, hey, yeah, you can go hook up with other people, I feel like it would just blow my mind to shreds. Like, there's no way I could have handled that at 19.
There was a time in freshman year when I hooked up with someone else and I was like crying, telling you, being like, I did this thing. I was like, I did this thing and I would do it again. And I was like, I think we should stop seeing each other. Like, we should, like, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to say that, like, I wouldn't if I was like, da 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 da. And she's like, it's fine. She's like, just don't,
it
like,
hurt me though.
I know it hurt you.
Like, but like, what I'm trying to say is, like, yes, we were able to talk about all these things, but I don't think, like, I knew myself well enough or Gray knew himself well enough. And neither of us was, like, responsible enough to actually be in, like, an open relationship. We just were, like, saying things because, like, yes, in an ideal world, I'm capable, or I would hope to be capable of that. And honestly, like, that experience kind of, like, solidified for me. I'm like, woof, like, I don't want to do that.
Like, it's not for me.
It was really hard.
We also didn't call each other
like that.
We also didn't call each other's boyfriend and girlfriend
ever.
Well, no, we always just said we were just seeing each other, that we weren't, like, taking that, like, we weren't taking our own relationship that seriously because of the responsibilities that you would owe to the other person. We were both acknowledging that we were, like, not at all ready to do that.
Are you guys both really similar?
Yeah, in some ways.
I was gonna say, because, like, there's like,
in some ways.
I don't
Why
know
do you grin this?
I don't
What's
know
wrong
you,
with having similarities.
But I will say,
we're definitely, like,
I will say there's an energy that's very similar. Like, you guys both have kind of like a very laid back stoner vibe. And I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like, not stoner as in, but just more like I could just see both of you, like, no screamings going on.
No.
You know what I mean?
No. If
like,
anything,
tears,
just sad,
sure.
Sad,
anger,
quiet,
frustration. But no one's like, fuck you, slam the door. Like, I don't see any of that. You guys both seem really laid back.
Yeah.
But then also, I could definitely see either of you playing the game of, like, who's not gonna show the cards first type thing.
I mean, I felt like for a long time it was like a game of uncle, like who's gonna cry first, you know?
I could totally see that.
Great. It got bad junior year between us. We did not talk for a while, and it was heartbreaking for me because it was like, I don't know, like, I had just come back from New York, and I was like, okay, like, here again is that moment of, like, all this build up, and, like, we're gonna do this thing now because, like, it's so real and it's so viable. And then same situation as what happened later when we were older, and it was like, okay, like, we meet up and it's just like, oh shit, it's just still not our time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's interesting because
very good take on it.
It's so interesting because Gray to me is a little bit of an anomaly. Like, I don't really know anyone like him, and he's kind of fascinates me. And so I'm interested to talk to you about these things because one thing I want to know is, like, what is one thing I want to know one thing that was, like, amazing about him and one thing that absolutely drove you up a wall about him. Like, give me the thing that was just like, I wanted to, like, gouge my eyes out because he would do this, or he was like this, or I want to hear the thing that was like, oh, this is the thing that made me, like, fall in love with him.
Both.
I mean, there's so many in both, honestly. I don't know. Like, I think Grayston's probably like one of the most fun people I've ever met. Like, energetically, like we can just like amp each other up. It's just like we can kind of make any situation, even if it's ridiculously dull, into like something that always, you know what it is? It's like you're an amazing storyteller, Grayston. So it would feel like we would have these experiences, these days of that were just like these massive narratives, like grand narratives. Like, also, you know, he loves like Moby Dick. Like, he's just really invested in like grand tales and being a part of a big story. And yes. I love that.
He loves a grand tale.
Like, I'm the same. I'm also like very much drawn to like that sort of like, I don't know, play, like make believe, like being able to kind of just like spin a yarn and then and being a part of that was so fun. And I think something that drove me up a wall, and I know that it's different now, like you've got 2 kids, like it's just a totally different story. I knew Grayston in his Peter Pan era, which is self-proclaimed. And look at that smile. Okay, look at that. That Peter Pan era was like, there was no accountability. That man would just like jump and skip and hop and fly away from any sort of like moment where I would at times like come to him and be like, hey, this doesn't make me feel good. And it would be like, I'm just going to skirt away from saying I knew that it maybe wouldn't. And I'm really sorry for that. You know, that was tough. Yeah.
I could see that. No, we always talk about this.
Smile. He's mischievous as fuck.
No, he really is, and that's the fun thing about him. Is like what those are the same things that I like engage with him. Is like when and that's what's interesting to talk to you about. Is like I always say to him, like he's got this amazing. He loves to just kind of fantasize and talk about all these things, and he'll go off and like he's into the ether for hours about like, and it takes nothing to get him there. You know, he's just so easily like able to float into like this fun, crazy conversation, and like he's super easy to talk to. And then the other side of it is this like, and I actually tell him I'm jealous of it sometimes, that he has this like incredible ability to not give a fuck.
Yeah.
And it's like,
look at that face too. He knows in every direction.
Yeah.
He knows. Yeah.
Like to get that like thing, to like get that anxiety going. Like it's never showing it there, And that's that's interesting how I can see like in a relationship version, it's like the fun is amazing. And then, especially if when you're like your 10 years ago self, where everything we do at 10 years earlier is like worse and better. So we're more fun, and we're also like whatever our bad qualities are or our tough qualities are, they're severe. So like I could totally see 22-year-old Grayston just being like, you're mad at me, I'm not coming over. Kind of stuff.
Kind of. It was a little bit of like, oh well, like you signed up for this.
No, it was
like,
probably more. It was more like gaslighting.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
It would have definitely been more
like. Thank you for
like
acknowledging that.
Yeah, it would have definitely been her like, why did you leave me alone at that party? And I'd have been like, oh, I didn't. I don't know. Like, is it that like you're with your friends? Like,
right. He'd literally be like, what?
Right. That is literally. I'm
not
experienced
even kidding,
that.
And I'm like, he's all what? It's like just giving me chin. So annoying.
Huh? I did what?
Huh? What? And then he'd be like, you want to hit the spliff? Like so many spliffs. I mean, I feel like also we were just like not present, No,
I was going to say before there was also going with the immaturity was also, we had did a lot of drugs at our college. And so we were just high a lot of the time.
Which so is not a good place to be communicating.
No, it's also like a thing though, where it's like, it's easy to be really comfortable. And so like, it's easy to like come to like a quick resolution of like, why are we fighting? Like ultimately like, okay, like, I'm sorry, whatever. Like, we're going to go to this thing tonight. Like, let's not go fighting. Like, let's just go have fun and like, be with each other and just
not really
have
like
fun.
Working through. It would just be like a new layer of like distraction.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, and it was always this like thing of like she's saying this like Peter Pan phase was like this moment where it was like this is our last opportunity to like be kids before like we really have our like we're putting the world on our shoulders right now, but ultimately our big responsibilities are like book reports.
Right.
Like, you know, like what the fuck are we talking about here?
Right.
Like it's an art project and a book report. Like it was very, at the end of the day.
It sounds like a playful college too.
Well, I mean, it was still, but it had the weight of like, you know, like everyone was really ambitious. So there was still like this thing of like what we're doing matters, but it was, and then for me, sometimes like when we would get in like to uncomfortable conversations of like, oh, you hurt my feelings, or like I need to be accountable. It was also like, that's not fun. And this is our opportunity to have fun. So like, let's just be fun. And that was always the default.
The smile says everything.
And any opportunity 100%. For me at that time, also like any opportunity, it felt like, I felt like I was treating everything like almost overly so. It's like fleeting moments. Yeah. And so it was like, it was like always say yes.
You were always in FOMO mode.
Well, because I wanted to have, it wasn't necessarily FOMO mode. I just wanted to ensure that when I thought back on college, there was like never a missed opportunity. Was kind of how I wanted to think about it.
And that's not obviously a great place to be if your plan is to work on a relationship.
No,
if it's supposed to be a fun, just best friend that you sleep with kind of vibe.
Working on it.
No, but there was
no work.
What was positive was we knew that.
But then as feelings grow,
feelings still got hurt.
That's when things become difficult.
It was still not. I mean, it was not great. It confused.
Because then you expect something more from them.
Well, it also was like our first big love experience was spent as like this constant avoidance of it. Most people's are like, I fall head first into it and discover like what relationships are and like go through it. Ours was like a constant avoidance of like the responsibility or like fully embracing this other like person. Yeah. It was like more so, it was far more selfish.
Yeah.
So when you came back to LA, why didn't you guys get back together?
I mean, like I said, like it was kind of like
just the flame wasn't there anymore.
No, it's if you had
a flame, it was just like, can you imagine after like, again, almost a decade at that point, we hadn't lived in the same city for like 6 years, and the 3 years we were in college together, like on and off and not really together, but like so together. It was just like,
and talking to someone is very different than being with someone. So then
I remember seeing Gray's life and being like, I mean, I'm an artist. Like I travel constantly for work. I'm like very much like a part of like, I don't know, some like international, like creative kind of life. And it was like, okay, am I going to like live in LA and like have a routine where I'm Grayston at that point in time was like getting up, surfing every day, like had his friend group that was like super rooted, you know, friends from high school, friends from college, friends from work.
Doing gym stuff. Everything was very here and now.
I was surfing and climbing every day.
Itinerant, you know, I'm like some like bag lady, which has been cool. But like, also I just was like, am I going to surf? And I was like, what? And I was like, oh.
No, there was also stuff where it's like looking back on it now, like we were just overthinking everything in so many ways. So
yeah, because it was Grayston. I remember you grabbed my hand and he was like, okay, so like, are we going to do this forever now? And I was like, what? You know, like he's like, well, I guess like, is this the beginning of forever? And I was like, wait, what?
Were you wanting at that time? Were you wanting it more than she did?
No, we were talking. We would talk to each other of just ways of like, man, like, what is it? Like, why is no one just like good, like amazing enough? Like, what is it about? So like, let's just explore people while we're in our 20s and just like have fun while we're peak. And then like, we'll just settle down and marry each other because we know we love each other. And like, you'll always be like safe and secure and like, you know, want to cuddle with you forever. And then that was like, and then we got together and we were like, oh, we were like, that was a really fun.
Am I
we were like, oh, it sounds warm. It's appealing.
I just remember, all this. And then we were together. We were bickering. No, we were like bickering as if I was like 19 again. You know what I'm saying? It was like you wanted to watch some stupid ass movie that I didn't want to watch, and you're all well, look, watch me make these really good noodles or something. And I was just like,
she's like, I make art now.
I want to do this. Yeah. No, it's not about the art thing. It was just like
different interests, different places. Yeah.
Just different interests. Exactly. I was like, that's just not how I want to spend my night.
I mean, that was like when it came down to like, again, it's like Liv and I emotionally, like, we talk on an emotional level more so than like anything else. So then when it was like, okay, here's our everyday lives. Here's like the world that she's immersed in. Here's the world I'm immersed in. And there was like literally no cohesion at all.
Nothing.
Right.
And that was like,
couldn't even get mutual friends like in the same room together and have it be like.
That's a tough one too. That's a tough one too, because like I've been in the music industry for a long time, and like as like a producer and songwriter and all that stuff. It's like I was always traveling too, and just like it's always late nights and random things, and you got to go to this event and all this stuff.
It's very similar to music,
right? Super similar. I had a lot of friends that were artists as well. The same type of thing. You're always like, I got to go to a gallery opening, I got to go to a dinner, I got to go to a thing, I got to go to New York for this thing, whatever. You just always have to be at the drop of the hat, willing to just do anything, and hanging out with people that live normal lives,
like 9 to 5,
is like the most radical difference ever. Where it's like, you know, you can't even go to people's weddings. You can't go to your mom's birthday because she says it's in 3 months, and you're like, I have no idea what I'll be doing in 3 months. So like the idea of combining that, even if you love someone, it's like something has to or it will be you massively giving up everything you're working towards, which is
but
tough.
Then also, like you said, like you said, it's so social. So much of it comes from going to these events. Like me and you have talked about when you first got signed, you were like required to be going to these parties
because
like every night, they wanted you to meet everybody, and meeting people was the way that you progressed your opportunities or created opportunities. And there was this big thing of like, well, where, you know, where am I in that?
Yeah, you're just the plus one, baby.
Yeah, but I was also like,
someone said that to me yesterday. They were like describing a past relationship. And they were like, yeah, I was much younger. I was on the wrong side of plus one. And I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, I wasn't the name that was on the list, you know? And I was like, oh.
And you got to be okay with that if it works. You know what I mean? Like some people are like, oh, it's just fun. I get to hang out with my person and go there.
But it was the like difference of like my world on the weekend was like either going outside climbing or going surfing somewhere.
Right.
And she's like, I'm
down for, love nature, but also like you're saying, literally the work requires like, I don't know, endless like participation, it feels like, in terms of, again, like talks, gallery stuff, like beyond openings. Yeah, there was like, you know, different fundraising events. It's just like kind of a totally different rhythm. And I don't know, also west to east side in Los Angeles was its own. I didn't have a car at that moment in time. I was like, am I about to be in like Ubers?
Where did you live, on the east side?
Yeah.
Oh, that's where I live. Where did you live?
Yeah.
Where did you live?
I just left LA actually, and I'm back in New York right now, but I was on the east side. And it's funny to be talking about this because my next like big love relationship after Grayston, I didn't do a lot of the things that we're describing, where it was like, I like with my ex, like Chaz, like really settled down. Like we were living on the west side. Like it was very like wholesome, like quiet life, also correlated to COVID. And it just like made me resentful, actually. I felt like I was taken out of a lifestyle that I really liked being a part of. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, she's on the go. Like there's a reason we had to get her on tonight because she's about to be unavailable for like months.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm going to Tunisia next in like 10 days for a screening. And then I'm going, there's like a video that I made. So I'm screening it at an opportunity to have there.
It's an opportunity to drive people to your art.
I know. Well, I'm also just like,
you're like, I'm just going to this thing. Like I made this video. It's just going to be out there. So like super, super vague. No one's going to be able to find this video.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And that's like a lifestyle.
Then I'm going to Berlin for a residency, but it was like, I found out Sunday about the residency, and that's like 2 months of my life. And then I have a show in Vienna. So it's just like
Wow.
pure chaos.
Well, and she's all over the place. She's written books. She has like documentary, and then she does sculptures and
So you're a workaholic.
all kinds of stuff. Yeah, she's nonstop.
Yeah, for sure you are. Yeah, and that's the thing. Work. Yeah, and it's funny because it's
and she's got her project with Beck, so she's doing all of this on her own stuff, and then she's also like she has a stable job, where she's doing the Good Alma stuff, and she like
which is amazing. And drop 1 is happening imminently, and we're very excited. Plug.
Wow.
The clothes are so good. I mean, it's just like I don't know. It's its own sort of like. It's very hard to be in a relationship
when you do that. Like you'd almost like that's why celebrities. That's why artists famously. It's hard to keep relationships because of that lifestyle, right? Because it's like things change so much. Well, so you almost have to
now I'm trying to navigate that. Right. I just started.
You started dating this. Okay.
I started dating this cutie pie. I'm so into him, love him, and then I get this residency that I can't really say no to. And I'm like, goodbye for 2 months.
Right. Well, and this is where it's like a little bit different. It's more akin to music than like acting or something like that, for instance, where you're just like, do you think
that if you wouldn't have been an artist and would have been more like a professor or something, just things like where you worked a job, do you think you guys could have worked out better? Like there wasn't as much pulling at you?
I don't know. Probably.
I do think so.
I mean, And we would. Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not.
If there wasn't as much going, hey, I kind of have all these desires and these dreams and these things, and it's a little bit more like, no, we both live in the same city, and I would 9 to 5, like.
One other thing about Gray that I would say I always felt like so appreciative of and love you so much for was like, he was always like, your art comes first. Like you have dreams. He was always like, you have these dreams, you must pursue them.
You never felt the pressure of maybe like,
never felt
you got to
pressure.
choose. That's good.
Yeah. Never. And it was never, it's like not how but you're not that kind of person.
He's a low pressure dude.
No, no. I mean, that's what I was going to say. I was thinking, making me think about things with like me and Bekah's where it's like, we've had the conversations where it's like at the end of the day, what she's doing is like massive. And it's like it's very opportunity dependent.
Of course, you have to be available.
And so that's kind of like, even with like the business starting up, there's like always, you have to make time available for those things because it's like, like it's a lot of once in a lifetime things where you're like, okay, whatever. It's if it makes my day a massive inconvenience, or if it makes me like late for this deadline, or if I have to reschedule it, or like, that's fine if I have to move that. That was always kind of like with conversations about us or her, I was like, never choose, like, I wouldn't want you to choose our situation over like you giving up an opportunity to have residency in Berlin, for instance. If it's going to progress your career and open doors and all this stuff, is always like, yeah, go do that. I'll be here.
But that's hard too. That's hard too, because at a certain point it's like, okay, right. But then like, this is like a relationship becomes its own priority. Yes. And so like, if someone else can't like have as much flexibility potentially, or share just like, even again, like in like the ability to be mobile across like the world for projects, then it is isolating. I don't know. The music analogy is really accurate, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, just even on the tour end,
it's very similar to being on tour. Yeah,
all that stuff, or just it's all just it's anything artistic, right? You just have to be willing and ready to go at a moment's notice and ditch any important, predetermined thing.
Although now what's amazing is so many people get to work remotely.
Yeah,
you don't have to just get a sidekick.
Right,
someone can take their career on the road.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Mobile office. Oh yeah, what's up?
Okay, what did you think?
Oh, yeah, so these are questions that came in.
Well, no, this was just what I was thinking.
Oh,
what did you think when you heard that he got a girl pregnant?
Oh yeah.
And did you know about it before? You know what I mean? Like, did he tell you and say, "Hey, I met this girl and she's really cool," or were you just like all of a sudden?
I had definitely heard about Bekah as like a cutie pie that you were seeing and excited about. but it was really early on. It was like, I mean, she got pregnant so early
That's what
on.
I mean.
So I think it was literally like, I think I was aware, but also not to throw you under the bus. Grayston has a lot of cutie pies in his past. And it was just like when I first, it wasn't like I was like, oh, I heard about this girl who like changed his life. But then I remember getting the call actually from Gray, letting me know, being like, okay, like, are you sitting down? And I'm like, what? I'm like, what's happening? And he's like, yeah, like I got a girl pregnant. And I started crying and I go, you are going to be such a good dad. I was like, you are going to be such a good dad. Because, also, again, we've been talking about how insane we were in our youth, but like literally, I remember this man being a boy saying, I just want to have a baby girl and teach her how to play baseball.
This is kind of blowing my mind, her. Because she talks about you like just so sweetly. It's like I could tell that you guys just had like a real love because even though you guys aren't romantic anymore, like you can't get rid of that like that that. I mean, there is a love there that is like real.
It was it was really magical. Our time, like I think like that time in life where we were like 17 to 19 was like really amazing. And that was like we were both the center of each other's lives, and that was like a big deal at that, and that's like carried through. And it's also something I think we've both realized is really unique over time is like
how close you really were,
how much, close we've remained. Most people aren't able to like. Most people I know who have that kind of thing, that they can't talk to that other person or like be in the other room with the other person. Or it's just.
I mean, let's just be real. 12 years later, it just fizzles out. Like you're like, we're cool, but we don't talk.
Also, I think most people slowly just traumatize each other to the point where they can't like cope with each other. Or after
a significant other is not okay with you guys talking. That's a big one.
And we just decided that we were so important to each other, and we would just like be stubborn and stick it out
and be like, we're going to be friends. Wow.
Totally. I think that it's more so like we have also similar values where we're just like, but like, just because love transforms over time doesn't mean that it's not there.
Well, that's like, real love.
It's a different type of love, but it's still love.
Kind, but it's still that. And like, I don't know, like, I heard about the pregnancy and I was like, you're going to make such a good dad. And like, I feel like at that point in time, also your dad, like Jim, when I started this off being like, we're family, like Grayston's dad produced a documentary that I made with a collaborator, Luis. Like I feel like your parents are like family to me as well. Like we have maintained like such a rich network of family between us for so long that it's like, without a doubt, like we have each other's back. And that's also something that I don't know, if people don't understand, like they just have to deal with it.
I think it's an amazing thing. I think it's a beautiful thing. Because I think what's actually cool about this is like people have, like I have a couple best friends like this. Like I have like two guys like this that like I've known since I was 13. I'm still super close with. One lives in Costa Rica. Well, you know what I mean? Like we don't even live near each other, but like we're still like, we hop on the phone and it's immediate brotherhood. Like we got each other's back to the end of the time. What I think is cool about this is like most people don't have that with a past like romantic love portion, which is pretty cool. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of a whole nother like gear in a friendship, which is like, it's pretty cool.
I remember a conversation we had where we just acknowledged like no one actually knows me better.
100%.
No one knows me better than you do,
especially in that young, raw,
at
vulnerable
this point
state
in my life. Like post college too, feeling like so confused of what we were doing, and it was like, why would we give up the person who knows me better than anyone at this point in my life to be able to like confide in and call when you're like feeling down or like when you're feeling happy or just whatever, was like there's so like a sense amazing
of continuity, where there'll be moments where we were just talking the other day about whatever work stuff we're both going through and life stuff. And it's like, to be able to have that like history, that like sediment of experience and be like, you know, you actually like a strength of yours historically, it has always been this, but also your weaknesses. Like I can like reflect and refract and really honor, I think, I mean, the immense amount of personal growth that Grayston has gone through, like through fatherhood and like being like like such a good, loving partner to Bekah. Like all of that has been so cool to watch. And then also I'm happy to like in moments when you are experiencing crisis, Gray, like you can call me and I'll be like, yeah, you always do this in weird ways. Like when you're stressed, you act out, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's just nice. I don't know.
Well, it's like someone.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's like you have a person to vent to who can also hold you accountable.
Yeah.
To be like,
right.
This is actually like you can't. This is just more of your like teenage angsty bullshit.
Right.
You know, or like, or you're scared, or it's this or that, or it's like, you know what you're supposed to do. Kind of stuff. It's really nice.
Does Bekah ever get jealous of not in a romantic way, but just in like, you know what I mean? Like, let's say, I don't know. I'm just saying like the reason why
I'll find out.
I'm saying in a way of this
episode.
If this is such a special relationship, I would be interested to know if she ever gets jealous of like, wow, a communication.
Grayston gets jealous. Grayston fully texts me and he's like, why are you on the phone with Bekah again? He's like, you haven't called me in weeks and yet you talk to Bekah
friend stealer
every day.
She's a friend stealer. Oh, okay. I get that.
Yeah. I've never, I mean, Bekah's always been really chill. It's definitely like at the beginning, I mean, it was just crazy.
Well, they met, you came over, you met Bekah a few times before, before they started working together and before, exactly. So
no, but what I was going to say was it was always chill. It never felt like any kind of like, who is this?
Yeah, right.
She's always told me too that she's felt like really reassured by me and Liv's friendship.
Oh, cool.
Because it's like,
honestly, when I'm dating people, I'm like, I hope you keep it cool with the people, you know, like it's always like,
it screams like trust too. If you're like, hey, by the way, this is my best friend and we dated, but like, I love him and I'm never going to like not talk to him, but we're not together. That screams to me like, oh, I can trust that relationship. It's the like one that you're like, I don't really talk about, but I still talk to them. That's the one you got to be afraid of.
We're also probably only meeting like serious people in each other's lives because we're rarely actually ever hanging out. So we're mostly always just talking, unless there's like a big thing. Like she recently had an art opening. We went up to that, but it's fun because then like Bekah wants to roll with me. Yeah, but
so there's like that's really cool.
Also, like when I was dating people, I'd be like, oh, like about your exes, and it was like, dude, if you have like 7 exes and you don't talk to any of them, and they're all like the devil, I'm just like, bro,
there's a
like,
toxicity you got to work on.
What is going on there? Like that are like, what are these chapters of your lives that you just like kill? That. Like it's like weird to me. I think about it that way. Sure. Of like these throwaway portions that you like never want to face. It just is like it's just. I don't know. I've never liked that. It's like you don't have to keep all of them, but just like if you don't have a single person,
you need at least like 1 or 2, I would say.
Right?
Like I definitely don't talk like on a regular basis to people, like most of my exes, I would say. And I mean, it's not like Grayston and I are talking like every day or something, but like we keep in touch the way you do with like an old, really good best friend, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like, I don't know. It's always, I don't think it's a good sign if someone has like no contact with every single person it didn't work out with.
Sure.
If
like,
it's
what
just
is
like,
that?
You know, fire and brimstone behind them and like their past is just like a wake of darkness. It's like, you know, it's like, what am I getting into?
Guys, this was so much sweeter than I thought it would be. Grayston was very much like, we're gonna like delve into the
I'll be honest with you guys.
Well,
you guys were kind of like lame in that way. Like I was really hoping for some pain. I was really hoping for some like, oh, I love this guy, but actually, to be honest with you, like blah blah blah. I was hoping. I mean, this was just a love fest the whole time. You guys talked the whole time about how much you guys love each other.
Well, it's also been one-sided, which is great.
But we got to let her go. It's late. It's like, what time is it there? It's like midnight.
It's so late.
Let's do 2 minutes. One more question, and then you got to let her go. So you can't make up for all the niceness.
Yeah. Okay.
This is just a nice podcast.
Okay. So many of them have been answered. Is this, what does Grayston smell like? Is his musk appealing? That was one that was said.
No. You know,
my dad is on this. She took a picture of my dad's. Why don't you visit his parents more often?
Cute.
We miss you.
Oh, love you, Jim.
By the way, I've met his parents like once,
Linda.
and I was like, "Who are these magical beings? Like, why?
Magical.
Who gets parents like this?"
Okay, craziest story from being in a relationship with me.
Oh my God, I don't know. We have so many crazy stories. Yeah. Also, I'm like, do I want to be on a podcast? I just feel like we took a lot of drugs. Yeah. I have a weirder response.
It would just be one of those.
It would just be like one of those where I'm like, and then this crazy pirate ship floated by and it wasn't real. One thing regarding scent is I remember he has none. Very weird.
Nothing like good or bad, just nothing.
Yeah, Bekah's talked about that too.
Maybe because you're a cyborg.
I chalk it up to the fact that I have hunter's genetics, and being scentless, it would make me a better hunter.
I think you're a cyborg.
I would be animals would be less afraid of me. Thus I could get closer to my prey.
It's because you are a cyborg, dude.
And this is, I think women can tell that.
I think it's cyborg. I think that we have to create the scent for you.
I'm a cyborg.
Okay, I'm so tired. I'm going to bed.
Love you.
So
nice to
talk to you.
Bye.
Big kiss. Bye.
Cute. Bye. So sweet.
So that's Liv.
My God. I mean, that was like the sweetest thing ever. Like, no drama. No
what can I say,
bullshit.
Man? I know how to pick them.
God, that was just pure love. Everything's amazing. Well, I feel like you guys have a special relationship.
We do.
Like, it feels special. Like, I could sense the warmth through this, that like, there was a lot of love there. There was a lot of passion, but then now that the like maybe romance isn't there, it's like it's all the good juice is still there, which is just like compassion and there for each other and honesty, and
it's taboo to like have like at a wedding. You're not supposed to have women on like she would be in my. She'd
be a best person.
She'd be up there. She'd be like
Absolutely.
If I could have 3 people up there, she would be one of those people up there. So that's like.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, so she's super cool. She came on, and so that's my clap back. Is like, Bekah's stuff is all over the place. It's toxic, dude. It doesn't sound good.
I was gonna say, he had some good stories about like bad moments. It was just nothing but just, he can be a little, not wanting to go there sometimes.
Well,
it was just pure like sweet. But I will say this: she does seem like someone that could handle you.
Yeah.
I think that's the takeaway, is that like she could handle you not, let's say, having these conversations that need to be had and just being Peter Pan vibes. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was very lucky to have met Liv.
She seems like a very special person that way.
Yeah.
She can kind of handle it all.
Yeah.
Because you definitely probably were like at 22.
There was a question on there that was like, where would your lives be if you hadn't met each other? And she was like very grounding for me in college, which was like an absolute crazy time. Like it was absolutely crazy. Like when I think about like a big school would have probably, I don't know. Like our school is small enough where like people would take on roles in certain ways. I don't know. It was just college. I don't know what I'm saying. College was just nuts. College was I was completely off the hinge.
You were nuts.
Yeah. I was like, whatever. We had a lot of fun. We just had a lot of fun.
Dude, it does sound like you went to a college that is not a real place.
It was like a summer. It
sounds like a fantasy camp. It sounds amazing.
When we joke about the Peter Pan stuff, there was this one. I mean, dude, we would do crazy costume themed parties all the time. Like it was very standard.
Dang, it sounds like the funnest place ever.
Our party situation was very standard to have like face paints. Like a bunch of people do face paints and like costume stuff at the party. So if you didn't come with it, they would do it. So it was like, like during the fall, there would be like woodland critters themed parties. and like fall festival style parties that were really just like heathen parties where like lots of psychedelics and all this kind of stuff were involved, like moon parties where it's like every Wednesday night there was like a drum circle party on the riverbank.
I'm so jealous of you.
And so you'd have these like insane fire circle dance parties.
You guys,
and that was like
just not even real. This is not an experience you had.
To get to
this is Burning Man
college,
with credits.
Our college was surrounded by a small state park called Tryon Forest. So the school is at the top of it. So to get down to the river, you had to walk like a mile and a half through
staff,
like a
float down
Oregon style like rainforest.
You guys, I don't believe anything he's saying. This sounds
there were
fake.
tree houses in the forest. Kids earlier, like in earlier parts of the school, like, you know, years before us, built tree houses, like multiple tree houses hidden in the forest. So we would have like crazy keg parties in the middle of the woods, stuff like that, where it was like and if not, it was still Portland. So like crazy music was coming by. So like if we weren't going to concerts, we were having these like insane parties in the woods or like everyone's houses. We all lived really close. And like at the time that I was living in Portland, it was crazy inexpensive too. I was paying like $300 a month for rent. So we were living in just like these trash houses where you could just have like the most insane parties and somehow consistently get your security deposit back. One of the houses I stayed in, we set up an archery range in the backyard. And we shot, I don't know how many holes into the aluminum siding of that house from missing the targets with arrows for an entire year. We'd have like crazy art, like just, and then, you know, that didn't matter. We had in that basement, we had a room where you could break anything any way you wanted as long as fire wasn't involved. And we'd have like crazy like punk shows down there, just like mosh pits where people are just like smashing beer bottles all over the place. And just have like bands constantly playing in our basement. And like we got the full security deposit from the house. I have no idea how. They were like houses that should have been like, they're all probably burned to the ground and just like some crazy apartment complex is built on top of them now.
I parked in a cement parking structure and walked to a class with a Scantron where someone was telling me corporate finance. Dude, I'm so jealous.
My school is
of everything you talk about when it comes to college. It's every single thing my college was not. Second I got out of class, I'd have to go to work. So I hate you because you had the most incredible experience ever. It sounds like fake. It doesn't even sound like a real place. It sounds like you went to like fucking Hogwarts or something. It sounds insane. It was
nuts. And then what was wild too was like, well, yeah, I mean, it was crazy. It's also a really good school.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, it's amazing.
Like, it was like a lot of the times kids would go to these parties and the conversations they would be having are like all about what everyone's learning. Right.
High level conversations.
So it was really fun. Like
so cool.
It was a very fun experience. That's why I'm saying it was campy. And so then like the whole Peter Pan complex was like a Halloween party and all of our friends dressed up as
a lot of free spirits. Yeah,
well, we all dressed up as the cast of Peter Pan, and they made me Peter Pan, and we took like we just took a shitload of drugs, and that just stuck.
So it was kind of hippie-esque, like free spirits,
super hippie,
very
hippie college,
not very judgmental. Everyone's just very open.
Most of us were wearing moccasins at one point. Wow, like type of situation. Most kids went through like a dreadlock phase. I would say like the standard attire was like flannels and Carhartt. And like kids, definitely, it was like homemade sweater dreadlocks vibes.
Money,
a lot of all the kids.
All the kids came from wealthy home.
You know, like there was a constant makeup of like a kid who looks like they're like live on the street,
but they're
patchwork
like
clothes.
Those San Francisco kids that you're like they're like yeah.
And then kids see it dreads down like to their knees, and then you find out
a car would pick them up to take them home in the private jet.
And then you'd find out like, they're from like, such and such place on the East Coast, and it'd be like, that's like old generational money.
Yeah, Rockefeller stuff.
Where you'd be like, their dad runs what company?
Yeah,
and you'd be
that makes sense because I think in order to have like a good time, and drugs cost a lot of money too. So like the fact that people like have all these drugs and live with these amazing experiences and have the freedom to do this stuff, there's not that like economic pressure of like get a job.
Well, we also, and then if you weren't in that, you did like a lot of our friends had jobs, and then also if you couldn't, I mean, a lot of us just sold drugs through college.
But that's what I mean. Even just like having that, that's amazing. I mean, that's so awesome. And to think that like that was an experience that could have been had and you had is like That's really cool. And the fact that you, like you said, you squeezed it for all it was is awesome.
I think we had a lot of conversations where it felt unique. Like going in, I visited a lot of my friends at college and was like, oh, holy shit. Like what we have going on at school is very different than what's going on. And I'd be like talking about our party scene. And I was like, dude, like we need to acknowledge that what we're doing is only this time. We only have it for this time. And
you realize it's very rare to realize it's something special when it's in the moment.
Our school also did stuff where like we thought of it at the time as like being annoying. Like we had a 2-year housing requirement. So like every other, like a big school is you just live on the dorms for 1 year because the schools are so big. They can't have you living on them for 2 years. Ours had mandatory 2-year housing, but your second year, you got to pick your roommates. And you got to pick the building you lived in. And they had these like little apartment buildings all on the campus that were like 24 unit apartments. And so you and like 50 friends would just get together and be like, we're going to live in that apartment and we're all going to apply for that one. And then like, you know, you'd find out who was living with you. And then it would be like, oh, like 90% of your building is just like your closest friends.
Yeah.
And so like sophomore year, our dorm room was a massive party every day from day one. And that was just like, and then the neighborhoods, we all lived in the same exact neighborhood. So I remember like junior year, within 2 blocks of my house were like 5 houses that my friends lived in. And so that was also like super crazy because it created this like eternal summer camp adventure complex.
Wow.
You know, where it was like, it felt like Neverland in this way. And it was in the middle of a crazy forest. But that forest is also like a city with like crazy different opportunities once you ever want to get a break and get out of it. I mean, it was just kind of perfect.
Wow.
But that's when I finished school, I was like, I cannot fucking stay in this city. Because I will never grow up staying in this city. I need to get the hell out of here because there's just too much of like
Farley
carrying.
Vibes.
It would just be carrying on this like other period of life.
Right. Dang. Well, that sounds amazing, man.
It was cool.
That sounds super cool. It was nice meeting Liv. So you guys have an amazing relationship. She's special for sure. And not the gritty, hateful knockdown drag out, but definitely kind of a flex to have that kind of cool relationship. So
it was fun.
So
yeah,
sweet. Well, we love you guys, and that was a lovely episode. And no drama, but actually a lot of sweet love.
Should we have one of your exes on?
It's been way too long. I'd be like, hey, what's up? Remember me?
So remember 12 years old? What was your least favorite quality of it at 13?
Yeah, exactly. No, man, it's like, high school. Remember that one time we went on that couple dates together and
we went on the Ferris wheel.
It
was super awkward. Let's talk about it.
So are you okay? Well, we love you guys. Peace and love. We're just chilling, man. We're chilling. And next week, when I see you, I will have had surgery. So hopefully we'll see how that goes.
Positive vibrations towards Evan.
Send those positive vibes. And
call your mystic.
Call your mystic and send positive vibes.
That's right.
We love you guys. Chat soon.